I worked as a wardrobe stylist for Q Television Network in 2005. It was a dream job until the question that remains is, did QTN fall victim to bad management and the gluttony of an aging gay man who used it to pay for a playground filled with young sex workers? Well, nothing's perfect, right? What I loved about working there was the creativity, the feeling included, the community of heteros, straights, lesbians, bis, trans, everything coming together to create programming that was, I guess at the time considered edgy, was fun and creative. Obviously, there were a lot of problems going on that we didn't know about. People mishandling, allegedly, the investors' money. Few records had been kept to explain where all the investor money had gone, and those that were found pointed in a disturbing direction. Expenses included 182-inch plasma screen TVs purchased at the cost of $20,000 apiece. We had a few on set, but not 100. Titles to 3 cars that had been given to young men who were not employed by QTN. Payments of $1 million to an executive's boyfriend for unnamed services. I do tend to look back fondly on these memories. I had a lot of fun designing these costumes. They came to us at the end of the day asking for 2 Little House on the Prairie costumes. My boss didn't want to do it, so I was glad to do it. I was not familiar with Little House on the Prairie, but I looked it up. I went to the vintage shop. I bought some cheap, old-looking clothes that looked like they would fit the characters, and yeah, it was great. I saved the day, and they were able to do this lovely skit the next morning.
A slumber party? I wasn't invited.
You didn't get the e-bite I sent you?
My high-speed internet isn't that slow, bitch.
When it comes to my boss, first of all, I'm very grateful she hired me. And we had a bit of camaraderie because we both have Polish ancestors. So we were, the Polish crew. I do feel as though I was taken advantage of a little bit. I was brought on as an unpaid intern, but she did get me a salary after a couple weeks. So I'm grateful for that. But I do feel like for the amount of work I did compared to the amount of work she did, she made a lot more than I did. But I was also obsessed with it. I was happy to spend my nights and weekends making costumes, sourcing clothes that were cheap because we had no budget. There was no budget. There was no budget for wardrobe, and we kind of were shady with studio services because studio services, you go to the store, you pick out a bunch of clothes that you potentially want to use in your production, and you don't pay for them. You have a credit card, they hold it on a credit card, but they don't charge you for them. What you're supposed to do is the clothes that you actually end up wearing or using, you purchase, and you're supposed to purchase at least 10% of what you take out. They would make me reattach tags, and they would wear the shirt on air for, one show, and then I would be cleaning the makeup off the collar with a Tide pen and be forced to return everything. And I didn't feel good about it because that's kind of like ripping off the store. And I was the one that had to do it all the time because my boss didn't want to deal with it, the dirty work. I didn't feel great about that. We had no wardrobe budget at all. And I ended up actually spending some of my own money when I would go source things. I remember there was a Go-Go Boy emergency when our Go-Go Boy was supposed to show up in red underwear, but he did not have red underwear. And I had to run to Target. We were going live in like 30 minutes. And I had to run to Target and find some red underwear. And I remember buying the red underwear and never getting reimbursed for the red underwear because we had no budget. There was no wardrobe budget. So, still my dream job though, because it was so fun and creative. It was challenging fitting all of the talent because our talent weren't sample sizes. The only person that was a sample size was Christopher. And so I could get clothes, sample size clothes for him, although the showrooms didn't really have men's clothes. It was mostly women's. None of our talent that wore women's clothes were sample size. Designers will let you use their clothing and get a credit for it, and you get to use it for free. But everything's sample sizes, so tiny little women's size 0 and 2 at that time. I don't know if that's changed in the past 20 years, but back then sample size was really tiny. So it was a challenge. It was a definite challenge wardrobing people, and a lot of the people wore their own clothes because we couldn't fit them. I did have one altercation with one of our talent. She was a lesbian. She presented quite masculine, very smart, very strong personality. And me being the people pleaser, scared of everything, wanting everyone to like me, wanting no one to get upset with me, it was always intimidating working with her. But she was very kind most of the time. One time, she had a bunch of neckties that she would wear. It was kind of her signature, was a colorful necktie. And they're in the wardrobe room because a lot of the talent would bring in their own clothes that they would wear only on set, and they would keep it in the wardrobe room. And it was my job to make sure it was all safe and keep it all steamed and clean, wash anything that needed to be washed. So one time someone came in, they saw one of her ties and they wanted to wear it. And me being the mousy people pleaser that I was afraid to say no, so I let him wear it. And when the strong lesbian who owned the tie found this out, she saw him wearing it. She was pissed and she came and screamed at me, and I deserved that. That was my fault, 100%. I should have just said, no, sorry, you can't wear that one. That belongs to. But after that, it was just weird between me and her. Like she had a grudge against me, and it was even more awkward than before. As a matter of fact, the day that we found out that the network was shutting down, I walked in to the studio and she was in the doorway talking to someone else. And she started yelling at me about making people wear ugly clothes. And it was so strange. It just came out of the blue. And I realized she was very upset. The network was shutting down, all these shows that we were all doing. I'm sure she was really disappointed and shocked and worried because this great opportunity had fallen apart. But she took it out on me in a really mean way. And I remember just feeling sort of crushed. Like, you know, when you say something to somebody that you can tell it really hurts them and they don't know what to say. I've done this to others. So I've been the other side as well. But she said mean things to me about how I made people wear ugly clothes. And I think my face probably just fell like I didn't say anything. I didn't know what to say, but I felt it and it hurt. But I mean, I respect her. She was hurt and angry. There's no sense in holding on to anger against a person that I'm never going to see again. But it just, yeah, it was painful. That wasn't part of my dream job scenario. Also, my boss one time, she made me pick up her kid at school, which was really, I felt really uncomfortable about, but again, people pleaser, afraid to say no. I had a little Honda del Sol. It's a two-seater. Her kid was little, like, I don't know, like 6 or 7 years old. Kids that age don't ride in the front seat. There were only front seats in my car. And then there was this little shelf in the back. It wasn't a seat. It was just like a shelf where you could sort of store crap. But if you've ever heard of a Honda del Sol, I had one. It was blue. But so I had to pick her kid up, and the whole time I'm driving her kid back, I'm just terrified because there's no seatbelt back there either. And if the police saw me, it would have been a big violation. And I just was praying that nothing bad would happen and that I'd get her kid home safely. Yeah, it was like I was treated more like a personal assistant than a wardrobe assistant. That really wasn't in my job description. So that was another thing that wasn't the greatest about my dream job. The end came one day. We were all called into a meeting and on set. So we all went to set, and I don't know, there were rumors buzzing like, oh, what's happening? Something bad's happening. And everyone that was experienced working in production knew pretty much that we were all going to get fired or something. But I didn't believe it. I had my rose-colored glasses on. I was like, no, I don't know. Yeah, we're not going to get fired. So they make this big announcement that we're not getting paid. It was payday and we weren't getting paid, but that we're not fired and we're going to keep going. And if we can just hold on for a couple more weeks while they figure out some stuff with the bank accounts, that we'll get paid eventually. They said this in front of everybody. So of course I believed it. After the meeting, people were all talking like, we're never getting paid. My boss was like, we're never getting paid, right? And I was like, no, they said in front of everybody, they said we're going to get paid. So I believed it. So I guess that was a lesson for me. Sometimes people will say things that aren't true. They didn't want us all to walk out. They were trying to keep it going, But when they told us we were getting paid, I'm pretty sure that they had an idea that it's a good chance that we wouldn't get paid. And so we never ended up getting paid for the last sort of month of work. A lot of people sued, and I think they might have gotten a settlement, but I don't know why I wasn't involved in this suit. I didn't want to be, or I just didn't bother to get involved in the suit, but I probably should have because they did owe us money. But that's me being a people pleaser. No, I don't want to sue them. Yeah, so people pleaser. Life lessons. But when all is said and done, I'm still glad I worked there, and I don't regret any of it. The decisions I made that got me in trouble, the working for free for the first couple weeks, the working for free for the last month, no regrets, because I do still have fond memories of that job. After the job ended, my boss was calling. I think she got another project and she wanted me to assist her, but I didn't. I just ghosted. I didn't answer the phone. So I kind of felt burned, I guess, right immediately afterward, and I kind of wanted to put it behind me at that point. So that was the end. That was the end of my work in production, in wardrobe styling. Now I'm a teacher. And I love being a teacher. And it's all good. Is teaching my dream job? Not really, but it's not a bad job. But those people and their sexual urges that cause them to do all kinds of corrupt stuff, you know? It's not just the gays. It's not just the gays that are corrupt and will let sexual urges corrupt them and the promise of $20,000 televisions and cars. Ah, people. Aren't they great?